As American men, we've been horribly misled, and the food industry has really fucked us over. And it's not that your diet is fucked. All our diets are fucked.
I'm not healing. What the fuck, doc? And then you're like, what the fuck is your hemoglobin A1C is 14? That's what the fuck.
That's what unfuck your diet is, really. Keep your mind sharp, keep your eyes bright, keep your dick hard.
Well, you're a dietitian, man. I'm coming to you and unfuck my diet, but figure out how to unfuck my wallet. What's your advice to these people that are living off of minimal wages? They make $17 an hour. How are they supposed to go and get some fucking lean piece of meat and like eat super healthy?
That is something that the food industry has made up to keep people confused in eating their food, is that they can't afford real food. It's more expensive to eat processed foods.
We're always punitive in our message. You shouldn't do this. You've been eating like a bad boy. Throw away your tortillas. Shame on you.
Two vascular surgeons walk into a bar and come out with a podcast. We are talking everything vascular and not. Welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.
The following podcast is not relating to my teachings and work at Del Cedar Medical Center and is for entertainment purposes only.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Life of Flow podcast. And today we have my friend, Derrick Walker. He's a licensed dietitian, diabetes educator, and founder of Unfuck Your Diet. Derrick has been living with type 1 diabetes for over 35 years and thriving. And he basically is passionate about teaching, especially men, how to do the same. So we have a really interesting conversation. We talk about nutrition, we talk about mindset, and I hope you guys enjoy. Vamos.
All right, Derrick, thank you for coming to the Life of Flow podcast. Another great guest that I bring to this podcast.
Yes, they're a pretty solid track record.
I have a solid track record with this. Tell us a little bit about you. What are you doing in the world?
I work as a diabetes educator. I'm trying to work in men's health. I have kind of just a non-traditional way of managing diabetes, or to me, it's much easier and makes sense, and people can kind of pick it up much easier. I also work as a clinical dietitian. I work a lot in skilled nursing facilities. I find this podcast interesting because I often work with vascular surgeons. I never work with them, but when they go from you, they often come to me in a skilled nursing facility.
Yeah, and you work a lot with people, and you do some coaching on people that have type 1 diabetes, correct?
Yeah, that's what unfuck your diet is, really. It's giving men access to education about diabetes. It's much easier to understand, really, and using a different approach, like really, keeping things that men can get a hold of, right? Like the main things that impact diabetes are your mind, your eyes, and your erectile dysfunction, right? So unfuck your diet is keep your mind sharp, keep your eyes bright, keep your dick hard. I find that men can relate to that. So, and the approach really is helping them understand that sugar really is poison.
Yes, that's what he told Miguel all the time. He doesn't believe me.
Yeah, sugar is really poison. Yeah. In high doses, and especially the people that we see that, once it's kind of like people are poisoned by sugar, and they get infected to the point where the insulin is no longer working, and they have a really hard time controlling their blood sugars. They continue to gain weight, and they just keep going on more and more insulin, and people just keep putting them on more and more insulin.
So let me frame this for our listeners a little bit. We do a little research on our guests, and Lucas did a pretty bad introduction to you. So let me help everybody set the stage here, that I feel this comes from a very personal place. And it probably led this journey of yours that is now one of education, of change, and in some ways of anarchy. And we'll get to that in a bit. But can you share a little bit of why, what's the personal side for you and how that led you to where you're at now?
Yeah, I've had diabetes since I was a kid, and I found in my midlife that diabetes was really hard to manage. It was very expensive. I couldn't control my blood sugars well. There were a lot of big ups and big downs. So I left a career as a hairstylist and went back to school and became a registered dietitian and a diabetes educator.
And you developed type 1 diabetes, correct?
Yeah. I've had type 1 diabetes for 35 years.
Wow. It's actually really impressive. I've always met another recently really high functioning person with type 1 diabetes. And my experience of people that have type 1 diabetes is one of people that are crippled by their disease. So that was part of the reason why I really wanted you to come on the podcast. If it's because us as physicians, we see in our clinics, the end results of really what you would call malignant diabetes that is literally like a cancer. So I love the idea of bringing you on to see if you could share your perspective on how you have managed and thrived with type 1 diabetes and how this has turned into a passion project of yours. So would you take us a little bit through that discovery process of, when you started really understanding what worked for you, you know, in managing type 1 diabetes and that journey from then to now, and really go into the nuts and bolts of what you discovered, what worked, what type of mental experimentation you had to do to really find what worked for you.
Yeah, well, the big change is I just happened to get into this master's, my graduate program, and it was led by some real grassroots thinkers. And as a dietitian, you do the case studies, and then you have to, come up with an answer. How would you treat this person? So as a young healthcare professional, I would say things like, "Oh, I put him on the diabetes diet." And the woman, Christine Williams, who ran this program that I came through, would be like, "Are you sure you really want to do that?" So it was a research-based program, and we just really dove into the literature that were behind these diets. And we'll come to find out, there is no real evidence behind these diets. And they were made up by the food industry. And they could really just kind of make you more sick if you're like really putting people on the diabetes diet. So that's really where it came from, was studying the research behind the diets that as healthcare professionals, we're supposed to be, putting people on or recommending.
What is that typical or that guideline diabetes diet? And then take us to where you think it's the gap between the results that it's looking for and the actual experience results. And then take us to transitioning us into what you think in your perspective and your experience works for you and the people that you coach with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, well, the diabetes diet is still based on the food pyramid. It recommends carbohydrates, a little bit of carbohydrates at every meal. And that would work great, right? If you had me there making your meals and giving you a little bit of carbohydrates at every meal. But for a diabetic, what happens is insulin is a drug, right? And if you're eating carbohydrates at every meal, your body gets used to the drug, and you just have to keep injecting more and more and more. So it really messes with your insulin sensitivities. And then all the other things going on in America these days impacts your insulin sensitivities as well. So it becomes very difficult to stay sensitive to your insulin.
So what's the alternative to that?
It's getting off the carbohydrate. It's very easy to live without the carbohydrate. It's purely the carbohydrate, right, that causes the challenges in diabetes, especially when you're injecting it all of the time.
So as a type 1, you're absolutely in need of some degree of insulin, right? From a medical standpoint, you have to dose yourself an appropriate amount. But then you add this layer of change when it comes to diet. And so I guess what I'd love to understand is this fuck you diet. When did this start? And I love the name, by the way, for our listeners. It's UNFUKYA diet, on fuck you diet. When did you come up with this? And what's the purpose of this? Is this a program? Is this a webpage? Is this your little course? Or is this just a snippet you tell all of your patients on fuck you diet, man? Let's go.
It's just my philosophy, really.
Okay.
As American, especially as American men, we've been horribly misled, and the food industry has really fucked us over. And it's not that your diet is fucked; it's all our diets are fucked. So just being aware, it's bringing awareness to how we've been fucked in America by the food industry. And it just brings awareness to, the oils and the additives and the pesticides and just eating processed foods in general. And diet, it's not hard, right? Like, it doesn't take a master's degree in nutrition to know that you just got to eat some real food. And when you're eating processed food, you're not really eating food. It's to add crunch into enjoyment, right? You can still enjoy processed foods, but you can't live on processed foods.
This notion of it being men in particular, would you deepen into this gender specific problem with food?
Yeah, men are they don't target men. No one targets men in nutrition. And I'm talking about the men who are like picking up your garbage and building your house, the guys who are just like barely getting by with these underlying chronic diseases caused by the food industry. And that's really what I'm working on now, is like how to reach these men and get these men to take control of the chronic disease that they're having. And heart disease is another thing, right? Like, men are dying at an alarmingly young age in America right now, right? Like, recently, all of my father's side, my father and his two brothers have passed in their 60s from heart disease. And I see that as a growing concern in America that we're not talking about, that men are dying young. And so that's really what I'm trying to do right now, is help these men unfuck their diets.
I recently was working on a scientific presentation for this meeting in Latin America. And I was looking into the patterns of diet and obesity within like a 10-year time span. And it was essentially splitting up regions of Latin America. And what was very interesting about this paper was that they first started trying to do it by countries. So like, what is happening with the U.S.? What's with the obesity, and then the insulin resistance, diabetes, and then ultimately peripheral arterial disease, which is, what you and I are very involved in. Well, what these authors were saying, that initially what they set forth to do as a geographic analysis, ultimately, and I think this aligns very well with what you're saying here, is that they got to a point where they realized that geography had nothing to do with it, because they were trying to say like, oh, well, America has a different diet than Mexico and this and that. And so what the conclusion of this analysis was, that they had to rehash the numbers by income. And income was a main driver of quality of food. And so they alluded to this point that, when you are a low income generating family and you don't necessarily now eat healthy because it's become overly expensive to go to these nice places to get good food, you then, stop by and get a Happy Meal for whatever, $6, $7, $8, and you're swinging 3,000 calories on 10 minutes in your vehicle as you're drowning in Diet Coke, which I think is hilarious. But anyway, and that is what's really led to obesity, what's led to diabetes, insulin resistance, so on and so forth. So meaning the problem is one of education. The problem is one of access to the food, which is socially now, it's so much easier to go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
If you're working a 14-hour shift on the road, fixing cables, and you're going from one house to the next, it's much easier to stop and snack 2 cheeseburgers and go on to your next account than to actually do meal prep that you bought at Sprouts.
Yeah. But so multiple points you said there. I don't think, and you guys can both correct me, but my idea is that is not necessarily, calories are not calories. Like 3,000 calories of just like whatever, like something called like I love this thing called a primal blend, which is ground beef with organ meat, and I get it from like one of our Henry, who we have to have on the podcast.
That sounds disgusting, by the way.
It's delicious.
What the fuck is organs?
Organs
like
heart, liver,
kidneys.
Yeah,
Sounds disgusting.
it's delicious.
Sounds disgusting.
anyways, so that is not the same. Like 2,000 calories of that is not the same as 2,000 calories of a cheeseburger. On the meat in that cheeseburger, the meat. Yeah. And then the other thing, this is one of the things that is really one of my passions, to be honest. Because sometimes I feel like doing procedures is like doing procedures and not talking about this is just like so defeating. But sometimes I feel like an ass talking to my patients because I tell them, well, look at your plate, and 80% of your plate should be lean proteins, and the other 20% should be, healthy carbohydrates, either like sweet potatoes, baked stuff like that, and then avocados or vegetables. And they tell me, doc, but meat is expensive. And then I'm like, oh, fuck me. What the fuck do I say to that? So can you address that? Because, that is the people that we talk to. We don't
Yes.
talk to the, there are a lot of people online talking about nutrition to young professionals that are not our patients. Our patients are not the young professional. Our patients are like, second generation immigrants, especially here in Texas, that work and are struggling, and they get to also eat well and not eat poison. And then you see their kids in the same pattern, and you're like, fuck, how do I stop this with this patient? Because this patient is affecting that kid. So can you speak to that, Derrick?
Yeah. Talk about unfuck your diet. If you're on a vascular surgeon's table and he's talking to you about diet and you've made it that far and you still are like, oh, really? I should eat a variety of real foods. Man, that's what unfuck your diet is all about. In America, with diet is left behind. They're just given drugs. They're not set down and giving real guidance on food. Like, they're not meeting people like me. There's not enough diabetes educators. They're going to these super busy clinics and they're just given medications without treating the underlying cause, which is processed foods. And you don't have to make it harder than it already is.
Yeah.
Let me so for both of you, but Derrick first, then you. But how do you address? Because this is exactly what I said, and you said it in a different way. You said it from a patient perspective. It's expensive to buy healthy food, and I'm saying it's cheap to buy shitty food.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And that's what the data shows. Well, you're a dietitian, man. I'm coming to you and unfuck my diet, but figure out how to unfuck my wallet. Like, what's your advice to these people that are living off of minimal wages? They make $17 an hour. And how are they supposed to go and get some fucking lean piece of meat and like eat super healthy and live this? Is there an answer to this? Or are we just capped by our own wallet and it's easier to go to McDonald's?
Well, you guys said it. I mean, it's education. That is something that the food industry has made up to keep people confused in eating their shit food, is that they can't afford real food. When you're eating real food, you don't have to eat as much food. There's, the amount of calories and protein and healthy fats that are in a pound of protein or in a pound of hamburger. I mean, you can get a pound of hamburger for $6 to $7 that will last one guy, 3 meals. It's been made up. People are misled by the food industry that it's expensive to eat healthy. And that idea just keeps getting supported by the food industry. And it really comes to the lack of dietary behaviors. Humans eat as their environment and what's around them and what they see and how they're influenced by what's around them. And we no longer have dietary behaviors in America. We just kind of, well, let's just eat here and let's just eat there. Like, we're no longer making meals. The focus is snack foods and the industry, right? Like, you can't try to eat healthy and then drive by McDonald's. Like, it's how we've evolved to eat what's in our environment. It's really hard to eat healthy in America because of the outside influences of the food industry.
So you think there's a degree of propaganda in the notion that it's expensive to eat healthy?
Yeah, absolutely. My
Okay.
grocery bill is $75 a week, and I eat really well. Granted, I've hacked the system a little bit, and I have like inside knowledge on eating well, and my insulin levels are very low, right? So I can fast healthy and things like that. But it's more expensive to eat processed foods.
Can you walk
I
us
think
through
it's
your
easier.
yeah? Can you walk us through your grocery list?
Yeah, my grocery list is it's mostly meat, right? eggs, a breakfast meat, a steak. I often eat I'll buy like a New York. Granted, you don't have to eat the whole steak at once, right? Steak is so high in nutrition that you can make a steak, 3 or 4 meals, and you don't have to eat a steak at every meal. You can have, you can split it up. It's very protein, but use a protein powder, right? You can use that to help with if you're going to work, or, meals, instead of eating processed foods, use a protein powder. High fat things, real butter, half and half, and some kind of vegetables. I don't put a lot of focus on vegetables, but something just to add crunch, freshness, and balance, and to keep you full without having to eat processed foods.
Do you add any carbohydrates at all?
I do, yeah. You don't have to try to add carbohydrates because there are so many carbohydrates in our environment. It's kind of like you're always battling carbohydrates.
Mm. But even when you're
I
making your
rarely
meals
add carbohydrates to my meals at home.
Yeah.
Berries.
Really? Because when you go out into the world,
Yeah, because
you eat some.
there's always those snacks. You're going to dinner with your partner or your friends. It's hard to go to dinner and not eat carbohydrates. It's hard to be in the world. It's hard to go to work and not eat carbohydrates because they're good, and there's human nature.
It's hard to go to a steakhouse and not eat a little bit of bread.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's
Especially
super
if they
hard.
bake it.
Huh?
Freshly baked bread
Freshly baked bread, like
with
steaming.
with a piece of fucking sugar.
Of what?
I'm sorry, of butter.
I was like, whoa.
And
Somebody needs an intervention here, Derrick. Somebody has
spoon
put
of sugar. No.
on their
The bread and
yeah.
the melting butter.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently had bread with lamb fat butter.
Oh,
that was
wow.
amazing.
Yum.
That's pretty crazy.
I know. I'm so disconnected from reality.
So do you feel the dietitians are doing a service or a disservice? It seems like you're a dietitian, but you're like a little bit radicalized.
Yeah, dietitians are great, man. They're well trained. They have to learn a little bit about everything. Dietitians are great. I'm a different dietitian. I'm very hormone-based, right? I'm calorie in, calorie out. It never comes out of my mouth. It's always like, where are your hormone levels? Are you trying to lose weight? We got to lower your insulin levels. But then you can't eat calories without impacting hormone levels. So they kind of, go back and forth. But I'm under the impression that there's a competing theory that was at the end of World War I. Of course, we won, and at the time, the food industry was really gaining steam, and calorie in, calorie out supported the ability to sell corn, wheat, and sugar. Well, there's a competing theory that was coming out of Europe at the time that was like, well, these problems that we're starting to see are really based on hormone levels. And the main hormone level is insulin, and how insulin is kind of like the dominant hormone over other hormones. And which really makes sense in my mind because it's kind of like anatomy and physiology 101, right? In the presence of insulin, the body builds. Not till those insulin levels lower, then the body can start to repair itself and do stuff like cellular apoptosis and, burn fat for fuel. And for me, that's really where I think men in working instead of like calorie in, calorie out, like thinking about where your hormone levels are at and teaching them how carbohydrates, fats, and proteins impact those hormone levels is easier to work with.
So how would you have an idea on, say, hey, I don't know what the hell's going on with my insulin. What's going on with my glucose levels in different meals, how would I, besides getting a glucose monitor, strapped to my arm, how would I get an insight? How would I track it? How would I modify it in order to be optimized for me?
You stay a healthy weight. You're a healthy guy. You don't have underlying diabetes. I would never even go down that route with you. That's just making shit more complicated, Don't make it harder than it already is, man. That's like, don't let the food industry fuck up your diet. Eat what you want to eat, exercise a little bit, try to eat real food. If you're eating processed foods, well, you're not really eating food. You're snacking and you're enjoying. You got to set yourself up so once a day you're eating some real food. I wouldn't go down that route with you.
Yeah, when we talked last time, and we didn't touch this on a little bit on your origin story. Well, we had talked about that you went to this camp for kids with type 1 diabetes, and that really affected the way you approached it. And I wanted to go back a little bit into that and give us some insights, because especially, if somebody's listening to us that has a child with type 1 diabetes, that there are these resources out there. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I grew up in a very large diabetes camp called Camp Hodiah. It was in the mountains of Idaho. And it brought a lot of people in from all over the United States. And it just really gave kids the confidence to live freely with diabetes. And it also, there was the guy who started it passed a few years ago and just kind of left some big shoes to fill. And that's kind of what motivated me to get into being a diabetes educator.
What type of things did you learn there, maybe mindset-wise, that helped you or shaped you?
Diabetes camp gives kids the confidence to live with their diabetes and not pack it around like a medical condition. It makes it like socially acceptable. It can be really weird, like injecting insulin and when you're a kid, like in public and, breaking out these meters. And so it just gives kids the freedom and the courage to really manage their diabetes.
What are you thinking, Miguel?
I'm just thinking about these, I don't know. I just think we're fighting such a complex animal. Food industry, marketing, processed foods, over and over these situations. It just seems like a very hard fight to fight. And I just don't know, how do you bring yourself up? Because I'm sure, like us, you work with people that ultimately, despite your best attempts, succumb over and over and over again to these notions of, is this too hard? It's easier to just do processed foods. I'm too busy, or it's easier to just do it. It's less work. And you're just this one person fighting this battle in a systematic way where you're obviously going to lose this fight every day of the week and twice on Sundays. But how do you continue on this mission, and how do you bring yourself up, and how do you potentially get people that fall and fall and fall? How do you do this? What's your internal monologue here to get to going on something that seems like so just frustrating?
How do I keep myself motivated, or how do I
Yeah.
motivate other people?
Both. But more important, I'm more interested in yours, because I feel that I try my best to Lucas's extent to give these guys pep talks, and then sometimes I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I'm going nowhere. His hemoglobin A1C was 12, and today is 11. They're not doing anything. Despite what I say they should be doing, they don't do whatever it's just. And so I feel like and on the other hand, I'm just taking care of these legs and these feet and these rotten things, and it's just so terminal. We view this problem at such a terminal stage when people have already so let themselves lose that their legs are falling off, that it's so hard for me to get back in this positive mindset about how to change this and how to make the world a better place. Sometimes I feel like I kind of give up on thinking that we can make it a better place, which shouldn't be, right? We should, but this is how I feel sometimes. Do you ever feel that?
Yeah. The people that we take care of, those are challenging guys, man, when they got, a wound that hasn't been healed in 13 months, right? It's 30% healed in 13 months, right? Like, where do you go with those guys? Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, man.
Do you at least think back and you think of some success stories you've had and say, that's maybe the way that I find wind behind my wings to keep going? Because I guess I'll say that when I start feeling like I'm so depressed,
Yeah.
I've lost 2 or 3 legs
Yeah.
in a given month. I've posted online. I don't know if you saw that the other day. I was like overwhelmed with somebody I'd done 13 procedures on.
Jesus. Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm just, perpetuating the slow decay, right? Like, I don't, anyway. And then one patient that looked like there was no option
Yeah.
makes it.
Yeah.
and that gets my batteries fully charged again, and it's almost like whoop,
Yeah.
like a da 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 da, and I'm like, let's fucking go. And that's what's helped me. And then having these conversations with people that do the same thing, because it's like an AA meeting. It's like, yeah, you deal with the same bullshit I deal with. Yeah, but that's kind of like two things. It's like I will create a success story, and woof, take it to heart.
Yeah.
And then having these conversations with people that deal with this helps me keep my mind in the right place to keep going. That's at least what I found.
I'm a
Helps my battery.
radical fucking optimist on this because I do like the exceptions are
Relentless.
Yeah. So first of all, you just have to see what the problem is. The problem is the system in which we work in, right? So the good thing is that we live in 2025 and you, Derrick, can reach like an exponential number more people than I can, right? And you can have more influence. And we as physicians and the traditional healthcare are going to bitch and moan about this because we don't have control anymore. We don't have control. Somebody with a message with influence can have a lot of impact. So I'm a radical optimist as far as that people like Derrick, like Jillian, remember Jillian, which we interviewed?
Love Jillian.
Yeah. Those people can have massive impact and really redirect this. So this message of unfuck your diet in a really practical way, if you get it out there because people want this. Everyone wants this. Everyone wants to be healthy. There's many layers of this. This is not just diet. People don't just eat McDonald's because it really feels really good. It feels like shit. Yeah, but there's other things. There's soothing. There's dealing with other stresses that we have as physicians have no insight into. But you, as to someone that lives this experience, does have insight and can talk to. And, with ChatGPT and agents and like Zoom and everything, like you have all the resources at your disposal. My question is, I really, seeing the sclerotic nature of large healthcare, being an active participant in it, I just see it as completely futile. Like it's just, you guys, people like you, Derrick, are going to just rocket past us and we're just going to complain and bitch about it. But how do you, Miguel, as an independent practitioner, how could you bring someone like Derrick and coordinate and integrate and co-produce? Because I see this as a natural alliance, I see this as, it's like I need someone like you because I don't have the energy. I like operating. I'm a well-oiled operating machine. That's my area of genius. But Eric's area of genius is communication. So how do you guys, have you thought about that?
I mean, when you look at the conceptually, what Hope is trying to do is we want to be a one-stop shop. And in that sense, that means you're going to get wound care, offloading, vascular diagnostics, vascular interventions, and essentially guidance. Two major components are missing, three major components. Mental health, which I think is crucial. A social worker that helps us understanding what their environment is at home. And what they live with on a daily basis, and registered dietitians. Those are the three elements that are just normally not under the insurance coverage. I mean, I just did a quick search right now as we're talking to, and remember, we use Medicare. There's Medicare Part A, there's Medicare Part B. Medicare Part A is inpatient coverage and home health. Medicare Part B is everything you get outside. But Medicare Part B covers if you have diabetes, chronic kidney disease, or transplant within the last 36 months, and you have a provider referral. But check this out. Covers 3 hours in 1 year.
So, but
I can have there talk to my patients 3 times in a year, which is nonsense.
You're thinking within the constraints.
I understand. So that to say, that's the limiting factor in an already contracted industry with margins being very tight. How do I think about this? Okay, well, I can't pay, the insurance won't pay for Derrick's support. The patient won't pay for Derrick's support.
How do you know that?
Because the patient can't pay $17 for a piece of meat.
Well,
so then how are they going to pay him his fees?
No. That's not all patients.
No, not all. Most of my have necrotic tissue patients.
But say like a third could pay, say, $20 for a monthly group coaching session. Derrick does it at scale, has 100 people in a session. He makes a living. The patient pays $20 that he pays for 2 Starbucks drinks, right? And he's not going to be drinking Starbucks because that's sugar water anymore, right, Miguel? So
Well, I got a caramel something
yeah,
from
exactly.
CJ this morning.
Exactly. So he's going to be saving that money from Starbucks, and he's going to be paying to Derrick to unfuck his diet. That's a model that works. And maybe you don't make money,
I mean,
but
it
you do build a
it
connection.
sounds beautiful, and if it is available, let me know. I just don't know of anything like that I can give my patients.
That's going to happen.
Okay. And then the other option is, I think if we are able to get grants and research support.
You're such a capitalist, and you're reaching for the government to help with this.
If you could get grant support to say holistic programs that manage diets in geriatric communities of limited income implies better standard of living, minimizes hospital admissions, et cetera, which we all know will be in effect. I think that's how you elicit change, is you get this data out there and you support that. And I would be happy to say, Derrick, here's a salary. You should come work with me every day. And every day you should talk to my patients and check on them and check on their hemoglobin A1Cs and give them diets and, figure out what we can do. That's what I'm trying to do in my own corporation, is figure out how, or maybe philanthropy, right? I mean, maybe there's a couple of billionaire patients of mine that are willing to pony up some money just to help the other people make it out. And so that's the way around this, because the system just is rigged. I mean, Derrick's right. There's no systematic interest in paying for better health.
No, I think
we can't cure people, because then we wouldn't have sick people to charge insurances.
Yeah, no, I think this will be solved outside of the insurance model. I think people because there is a need, there's potential energy, right? There's a need.
RFK is going to fix the whole shit.
RFK, I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You guys need a dietitian and a diabetes educator in one. There's nobody following your guys' patients that knows what the hell they're doing. They come to you, and then they send them to a skilled nursing facility where then they're afraid to manage their diabetes because the state oversees how they manage their diabetes. Your guys' system is fucked, largely in part of all these regulations. And the people, once they leave the surgeon, they're not fixing the root cause. They're not fixing their high insulin levels. They're going home and they're drinking soda. They're going to skilled nursing facilities, where this is what RFK may fix if someone gets in there while he's here, is the food that they're recovering on is garbage. It's the bottom of the barrel. It's so these large food service companies can make a profit. They serve these people who really need to be eating a fucking nice steak and a salad. I mean, really, that's all you need to eat, right? To recover from a fucking getting your foot cut off. What the fuck? It's crazy. We're not taking it serious enough. These you're getting your foot cut off.
And if you put them on a diabetes diet and you go by there when they get there, it's the saddest shit you've ever seen.
Yeah.
They come in with this big
It's
tray.
horrible.
They
Is the
put
sign
the tray, they open, and you look at it and you're like,
disgusting?
I would never eat that.
Yeah.
No wonder the people look at that shit and they're like,
I know.
I'm never gonna eat
Hospital
this shit.
food is like eugenics.
It's so bad.
We're not managing in their blood sugars after they leave your table. They're dosing them after meals. They're not covering the basal rates to cover for the high blood sugars from recovering from a surgery, right? Their blood sugars are 400-600 for 2 weeks while the infection comes down, right? We're not dosing correctly. There's a huge gap from when they leave your table and they end up in a skilled nursing facility where there is no diabetes educator. There's at best a PA who's overseeing 30 people 2 days a week, and then 1 week the lead MD comes in for 6 hours to see what the PA didn't see. It's an ugly picture, and there's a huge disconnect between the vascular surgeons and what's going on with their patient. And then the patient's like, well, I'm not healing. It's been 11 weeks. I'm going back to my vascular surgeon. I'm not sure why I'm not healing. Everybody knows why they're not healing, because they're not getting managed properly. I can see why you guys get a little discouraged on that.
Yeah. I don't think everyone knows why they're not healing. There's such an information gap. Yeah.
So
I think there's so
it
much
also makes
potential.
me think that on our platform that we need to add
We're going to add,
more information
We're gonna,
on the like protein levels. I think we need prealbumin levels. I think we need to follow hemoglobin A1C
Dude,
levels.
we just need to start way more basic than that.
That's what on a tracking system.
Oh, yeah. What you're saying. Yes.
On
Yeah.
software platforms
Yeah.
that track patients' long-term evolution, you
100%.
need objective performance data that are going to help you say, okay, you're not healing, but your blood flow is great, but I'm not healing. What the
Yeah.
fuck, doc?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, what the fuck is your hemoglobin A1C is 14.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck. So you need to unfuck your diet,
Yeah.
and your foot will get unfucked.
Yeah. But see, that there's where the collaboration should come. Like, somebody's gonna figure this out. Somebody's gonna do like
We figured it out.
like a cohort type system. It's gonna be $15 an hour. It's gonna be like AI empowered. It's gonna be one dude that has a vision, that has the way to connect with humans, and has insight into how to manage this at scale. And he's going to figure out, and he's going to make a good living at it. And he's going to just have a little banner in one of our clinics. He's going to convince me, say, hey, allow me in. And people are going to pay $10, even $5 at scale, and they're going to manage. That's what's going to happen. And it's not going to come through insurance. It's not going to come through grants, through philanthropy. It's going to come through like innovation, human desire, and vision. It's going to happen.
Well, I think we found the answer to it. You should fix it, Lucas. You got this.
No, that's not my passion. I love
You and Derrick.
I love operating. I love operating. So, but it's clear as day for me.
This is not your passion.
I mean, I'm passionate about it, but
I'm not passionate enough to fix it.
No, I'm not the person to fix it, because I'm not the person that's going to connect. I don't have that gift. My gift is not connecting deeply with
What's
those
your
people.
gift?
I love wires and just like squeezing them through
Derrick,
the fucking
Derrick,
things.
what's your gift? What makes you a happy little unicorn?
But man, I can get people to take care of themselves. I have an ability to motivate people and relate with people on where they're at. It's probably I don't know what, because I'm empathetic.
Do you think what about you, as we close out this show? But what about you? Do you think allows you that capacity to create that human connection of trust?
I mean, authentically, how I look, it's easy for people, if you have a symmetrical face, it's easy for people to be trusting and open. And where I came from, small town, being a diabetic, and really like giving people things that can work. If you're not giving them the message that they've been getting all their life, like, oh, well, it's up to you. You got to watch what you eat. You tell people, well, actually you've been poisoned, and, giving them a message that they can understand and relate with and help them unfuck their diet. The message is wildly obtainable by people. And I've seen it work in what we were just talking about, in healing guys in skilled nursing facilities that are on their, the last cut before they lose, go up to their knee, right? Like, you can catch those guys and get them remotivated, but you can't do it by telling them, well, you just need to, it has to be a different message. The message that we have right now does not work.
Derrick, have you created your own brand? Like, are you out there on Instagram and TikTok and whatever, not sharing some of these perspectives?
I think YouTube is the way to go with the population that we're talking about. That's my next movement, is putting it all on YouTube.
So have you put any energy into building a YouTube channel about this particular stuff?
No.
Is that something you would consider doing as part of this maybe journey? Or it's not a personality thing, it's something that you're interested in?
Yeah, that's my next movement. That's my next move. As soon as this vacation, I've been on vacation and connecting with family through the summer. It's my next move. Just putting it out there.
Let us help you in any way we can, man.
Yeah.
We've talked about building some shorts and some other stuff that should be directed to patient care. I think that you would get a lot of traction with this notion, I think, prospectively, that here's the thing. Here's something that you've helped me maybe realize throughout today's conversation, is that we're always punitive in our message. You shouldn't do this. You should be like, you've been a really bad person. You've been eating like a bad boy. You should be, throw away your tortillas. Shame on you. And reframing this as they've given you no other option but to follow this path. And what I'm just trying to tell you is there is different ways to do this. And if we meet people where they're at and we help them grow that more from a place of, let's change this and realize you've been poisoned, and not, God, how could you, or you're bad, or that's what I think. There's a very fine, very distinct message there. and possibly the reason why, to your point before, you've been able to move these people, successfully through this mindset change. And I invite that 100%. I think it's going to be worth gold to build a lot of that direct-to-consumer messaging.
It's just there for the taking. All right, Derrick, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Always love this topic. And we'll be seeing
We
you.
love talking about diet and sugars.
And
Thank you.
string cheese.